In my series, Road to Losing 100, this is episode 1, Where It All Starts. We all have journeys. Join me on mine, The Road to Losing 100. This is the Marie Cole experience. In this video, I explain why I chose to do the channel, what my motivation behind it is, and why I put my videos out the way I do. And to start, I want to journey with you. I don't want to show the end of the journey and work backwards. There's too many people who need somebody who can do it with them. And why not share the real deal? Like, let you guys see it day by day. What happens on a daily basis, how hard it is sometimes to get up and go out and work out, but you still do it. So I want to journey with everyone in real time, and we'll get to our after pictures together. So where it all started was born in Los Angeles, and around 8 years old, I moved to a small town, Yucaipa, California. And in both places, it's interesting, both places had a lot of nature and natural. And what I mean by that is, although Los Angeles is very urban and concrete, asphalt, in the backyards of my grandparents and my parents and my neighbors, it was, in my little young mind, it was like the Garden of Eden. Everybody had a garden. They all had fruit trees. They all had paths. And I mean, for some reason, every backyard I went in was like a little adventure in Los Angeles. And there was fresh vegetables and fresh fruit, and you could pick grapes off the vine. And in my understanding, everybody ate like this. This is how you know, your mom went out to the back and got fresh green vegetables. That was just how everyone I knew ate. And so when I moved to the to Yucaipa, which was more, it's built up now, but this is in the 80s, and it was very rural, and we had acres of land, and my dad bought cat animals, and we processed them to eat. And then I learned about the difference between store-bought protein and fresh proteins that you raised, and you know what they ate and how they ate and how they were loved until processing. And it gave me a different perspective on that. And we had fruit trees and the neighbors, again, another place, another area. But again, you could go into the neighbor's backyard. And I remember as a kid, we didn't come in the house to eat lunch. I mean, my little neighborhood friends, we had to be brought in the house. We didn't come in just willy-nilly to go eat lunch or something. They had to make us come in the house to come eat. And so what we would do for energy was we'd just run in someone's backyard and get a plum off the tree, or go in a neighbor's yard and get walnuts. And no one minded. Everyone just was like, hey, yeah, grab them. It was just how I was raised, you know. So this Whole Foods is interesting to me because that's just food in my mind. So I grew up running around I would probably be considered on the thin side, maybe even as a kid, because I was always running around and playing and never still. And so I never had weight issues all the way up until I was probably in my late 20s. I started to gain a little weight. And but as a child, I was always athletic, running around, moving all the time. I'm kind of hyper. And so that hyperness translated into movement, playing sports, running, riding bikes, you know, the whole nine. So When I was around 27, I had a knee injury at work, and that kind of put the brakes on a lot of my. Well, now I realize a lot of my personality, a lot of my who I am was wrapped around my athleticism and the fact that I had so much control over my body. And I didn't realize how important that was to me until it was gone. And so I had a surgery for my knee. It was pretty much, they herded us all in. He must have done 10 surgeries that day. So my surgery wasn't great. And I didn't know any better. This is where my job sent me to get get it all taken care of. So I didn't know. And never had surgery, never broke my arm, knock on wood, never anything. And so this was my first and only surgery. And it was bad. And so my knee never healed, still to this day, never healed the way it was supposed to. And so over time, I began to gain weight. So this is when I believe I turned to eating. While I was recovering from the surgery, I recall, because again, my upbringing wasn't big on, it wasn't like we never went out to eat, but they just were healthier people. They didn't go eat like that. Until I was older is when I introduced a lot of ultra processed foods into my diets, chips, and sometimes when your parents are healthier, you rebel by eating or doing the opposite thing, right? And so my rebellion was chips and fast food and whatnot. And I think as I became older, I remember the first time I went grocery shopping for myself. I put all this crap in the basket because I could, and then I realized like this isn't really how I like to eat, so I didn't continue to do that. But in this saddened state, right? I felt like my identity. I was realizing I could no longer run. I was someone who would just go run a mile just to run a mile, just to see I still had it. Into my late 20s before this injury, I would just take off and go run and spend the morning running or walking or something. It just was something that gave me energy, positive energy. And so when I realized that was gone, a big part of my persona, my personal persona, died with that. And so the way I combated it, or whatever the word would be, is I ate. I ate poorly. Fast food. I have this big thing on my leg. I can't move. I can't do anything. So I just sat and ate. And over time, I probably gained over that little spell. I don't know, more weight than I wanted to, over 20 pounds, I'd say. And then I lost it. Uh, I was able to walk again. I was, move again, and not run or anything, but get the weight off. So a year after that, I had my son and changed everything. Like he was just most beautiful person. I was just so enamored with him, and still am. And so my positivity went up. Everything went up. Then I started a business, and that was really great. And it was a janitorial business, but I focused on sites after a building is completed. Someone has to go clean it and get it ready for the new people. And so that was my focus. And so I had to walk around a lot of large sites, housing complexes, apartment buildings. So it was a lot of walking, going through everything, making sure the team did everything great, and they did. And so that kept me busy. Between my son and the business, I was moving a lot. I was very happy, and I wasn't eating poorly. Fast forward to 2008, my son is about 6. Everything in my mind was going great. And then the recession of 2008 it hits, and everything imploded. Overnight, seemingly, but actually over months. I lost 90% of my clients. A lot of construction companies went out of business. My private clients could no longer afford to pay for, usually janitorial services in the recession are the first to go. And that was what happened in my situation. And at the same time, me and my son's father broke up. And so it was just a very big down downtime for me. And so I went back to eating, and that was becoming a problem that I didn't realize. You're right. I just thought, I didn't think about it. I didn't have the knowledge to know that was a problem. I just thought I didn't even think about it. So I would be eating without thinking, trying to fill these holes that were created, and and that's that. And it just kind of spiraled and spiraled. My knee began to get worse, so I wasn't able to continue the workouts and stuff as hard as I was, as much as I was. And that's when I found out that the surgery wasn't hadn't gone as well as it should have gone. It wasn't done as well as it should have been done. And so at this time, I start eating for comfort. So after the company goes down, the relationship ends, I have to move on. Life goes on. And so I ended up going back to corporate America. And I was fortunate to have that background to fall back on. And so I ended up going back to work in an office. And the sedentary lifestyle of office work wasn't good combined with my comfort eating. And so the weight kept coming and kept coming. But working in an office, you have to stay cute. So I would gain some weight, lose some weight, gain some weight, lose some weight, gain some weight, lose some weight. And that's when the yo yo diet starts. So in an office, I don't know about your office, but in mine, the number one topics were diet and men. so and so everyone had a new diet. Everyone knew a new thing. Everyone had a new thing to do. And we were doing everything. We would just bounce around from this to this to this. And so I pretty much tried every imaginable diet in America. Um, so that was that. And it kind of kept my weight down, because if I wasn't dieting, then I was exercising and walking. You at least have to walk to your car, and on your breaks we walked around the building, and so you're still moving, just not as much as I was before, but you're still moving. And a few gym stints where I was in the gym and whatnot, and so the work uh, in office, I kept it off out of vanity and yo-yo dieting. 2026, I landed what I thought was my dream job. I had to relocate to Arizona. I lived in California my entire life, so I had to leave my friends, my family, everything I knew. But it was exciting to do something different. And the cost of living in Arizona at the time was much less than California. And so my son was starting high school, so I felt like that was a good time, because when you're new, when you're a freshman in high school, everyone's kind of new, and so he wouldn't be the new kid in the strictest sense of the word. So it was a good time for the move, and my son thrived in Arizona, and it was a good move for him. But the big perk to me about this job was that it was work from home. I thought I had landed the big one. So it was good money. I enjoyed the work, and I could work from home. Like, what? So, so we make the move. And at first, I had all these plans. I bought gym equipment, and I had enough space to have a gym, and I was just so excited to, now I'll never gain weight. I'll be perfect weight. And none of that happened. I had all the things, and I was still eating poorly, and I was working so much. I was working 12-hour days sometimes to finish projects and whatnot. And so it didn't go as planned, but it was a great move for my son. And for me, it was when I gained all this, the most weight. So, fast forward, my son graduated. I had realized, I mean, clearly you have to realize that you're gaining weight. I didn't even have a scale in my house. I had all this equipment and no scale because I didn't want to face the fact that I'd been gaining so much weight. And so I went in for like 2019. I every year I go in for my yearly physicals and whatnot. But this year, it was a highly stressful year at work. And I didn't have a whole lot of social life. And I was just at home eating. And after COVID, the delivery boom happened, and that was just like, whoa, why not? And so I went in my physical. Maybe this is like 2022, maybe, and I weighed 250, I think, two around there. Blew my socks off. I knew I was over 200. I didn't realize it was. I mean, in like a year, I'm gaining 50 pounds. Like, this is crazy. So I go into another spree of yo-yos, just vegan and protein only, and just whatever, just whatever I could find. And none of it is working because, I mean, vegan's not restrictive. I actually like that. But a lot of them are very restrictive to where you feel like you're missing something. And so I would fall off because I felt like I was white knuckling the whole experience. And then no matter what you lose, you gain it all back if you don't stick to this plan that they give you. And so yo-yos again, relapsing into overeating again. And so now I live in Denver. My son graduated, went to college, and moved back to LA and the Los Angeles area. And so now I'm kind of free to move around. So now I'm in Arizona. I'm sorry, now I'm in Denver right now. And so last year, I go for my physical and I get on the scale and it's 303. There's football players that weigh less than that. I couldn't believe it. I was devastated. I know I had gained a lot of weight because I stopped taking pictures. I stopped wanting to be in pictures. I would avoid them if I could. I'd be standing over here if I could. And that's a sign, of course, right? That you're aware of it. I'm not trying to act like I was fully unaware. I don't know about everyone else, but when it's your body, you kind of picture yourself different. You don't, until you see it in a picture, sometimes you don't realize, wow, that's how big I am. I remember seeing a picture of a group photo and thinking, who's that? And it was me. And I was just like, what? Like, so maybe it's just me, but that's that's the truth. And so that's the truth of the thing. And so I ended up talking to a friend of mine. She's a dear friend. She's a nurse. She's been asking me for over a year at this point, how come you don't do GLP-1s? And I just had all these reasons. I had no research, but reasons, right? the diets always felt so restrictive that I never stuck to them or never completed them. And I would lose weight, and I would feel like a failure because how come I can stick to it this long, but I can never finish it out and get to the goal weight? I'd get close, and I call it relapse because I do believe it is a food addiction. And so I'd get so close to the finish line sometimes on certain diets, and then I'd just snap and eat something, and then in my mind I didn't finish it, do it right, so I have to start over, and it was just this constant yo-yo of back and forth the dieting. And I had heard at this point, everyone knows about GLP-1s at this point. And I had friends who did them. You see videos about people, and you read articles and everything, and it always sounded like almost a miracle drug, but almost unbelievable. And so I don't like to indulge in the unbelievable, because if you're losing 15, 30 pounds in a week, that's not good either. That's not healthy either. And so to me, I didn't know what it was. I hadn't researched it at that time, and I thought it was you're putting a chemical in your body, and I was not about that. And so I felt like I was going to lose it naturally, because I didn't know what GLP-1s were. I didn't research because I wasn't interested in using them. And so I was thinking it was natural versus GLP-1. And that's not the case. And so I've, probably like October 2025 at this point, I'm talking to a friend about how badly I want to get this weight off. Took the time to not brag or sensationalize the GLP-1s. She told me the truth. And no one had done that to that point. Like, everyone either overhyped it or didn't want to tell you because they didn't want to, they wanted to gatekeep it, or it was, it was just, I never got anyone's true opinion, what I felt was their true opinion. And she told me the truth. And she's talking to me one day. It took her a couple weeks to talk me into going even to the doctor to even see about doing it, because I was so against it. And she used this phrase that I'd never heard anyone else use. I hear it now, but I'd never heard it up until then. She said, it quiets the food noise. And I was like, wait, what did you say? And she said, the food noise, it shuts it off. And I, until that moment, thought I was the only one on the planet who had that. I thought I was the only one who had that constant jabber in my brain. What do we need now? What do we do now? You should eat this. You should, And I said, whoa, really? And that unlocked it for me. And I started researching. I started reading, and I started. I went to my doctor. I spoke to her about it, and she was big on it. And she said, well, let's do some blood tests. We got to do blood work before we can do anything. And unfortunately, my blood work came back, and I was at the early stages of diabetes. I had ate my way into diabetes. So it was able to get approved, and I was able to get on it. And it took like a week or two for all that to go through, the approval and everything. And so in that week, I stopped buying. I had already kind of stopped buying, because I did also some research on ultra processed foods and the highly appetizing, addictive ways that they're made. And so I stopped buying it, basically pretty much stopped buying anything like that. But I still had like some chips and some little here and there's, right? And so instead of throwing them away, I consumed them, but I told myself, this is the last bag of chips you're going to eat. And threw it away, and that was never bought anymore. This is the last this or that. This is the last, And And that was like closure from that time where I was using food as my hug or my crutch, you know. It was like closing that door to that and opening a new door to getting this weight off and being done with it. And so that leads us to now. And I've been on it. The Manjaro is what we landed on. And I've been on it since December 12th. And I've lost 33 pounds or something like that. I really don't pay all that much attention. It's so funny the difference between being on a diet and being on this. It's just life. You're just living while you lose weight. It's the craziest thing. And I don't even think about it anymore. It's not a conscious thought. Food for me was a ever-present conscious thought, and now it's gone. So that is my origin story for my weight loss journey, and it brought me here, and I believe there's a purpose in everything. And if I can help one person or 1,000 people lose weight and feel like they have a community that understands and is in the same boat. And again, this is why I want to do this story in real time so we can all do it together. And my dream is at the end of, a few months or this year, whenever it happens, and I hit my goal weight, that I have a whole community of people sharing their after pictures with me. That would be amazing. And so it's all about giving back. If you know something and you can help someone, it is your purpose to share that information and help others. And so now we're going to get into the part of why I believe diets fail us. The typical diet plan, it fails us, and there's a reason. So weight loss is not the same as body transformation. Most plans only want to see numbers come down on the scale, but the scale isn't telling you what you're actually losing, and the distinction of what you're losing is the most important part. Depending on how you lose weight, you're losing one of the three things. You're losing muscle, fat, and water. On most diet plans, there's no distinction. They don't really, and I want to say I don't care, in my opinion, they don't care which of those comes off as long as you see numbers come down. I would say that the goal of most people who are dieting is to lose fat. But in many diet plans, it's causing you to lose muscle. When you lose muscle, it slows your metabolism down and it makes long-term weight management a struggle. Extreme cuts in calories can slow your metabolism, increase fatigue, reduce strength, and trigger rebound weight gain. Your body adapts to survive. So if you're underfueling it, like most diet plans suggest, you're making your body more efficient at storing fat. So this is what muscle tissue does. Muscle tissues burn more calories at rest, improves insulin sensitivity, supports joint health, and improves long-term fat loss. Losing weight without protecting the muscle spirals into the lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight, the yo-yo. Right? I was surprised too. Many weight loss plans fail us because they teach rules rather than the identity of change. Temporary mindsets gets you temporary results, A new identity gets you long-term transformation. Rapid weight loss without strategy can lead to metabolism slowdown, muscle loss, hormone disruption, and regain. Sustainable weight loss protects your body while you're losing fat, while your body's changing. So the real truth that weight loss plans neglect to tell us, the goal isn't just to lose weight or lose numbers on the scale. The goal is to rebuild your body while losing weight. In this section, we're going to discuss what is a GLP-1, because by now we've all heard of them. What do they do? How do they react in our body? What is the purpose of taking one? Let's find out. GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide 1. It's a natural hormone in our body that is released in our gut after we eat. This hormone's job is to help control blood sugar, signal fullness to the brain, slow down gut digestion, and regulate insulin release. So all a GLP-1 does is mimic, copy, or enhance the hormone that is naturally occurring in our body. When food stays in the stomach longer, it leads to the following: feeling full faster, staying full longer, and reduced appetite. That's why so many people on GLP-1 will say, I'm just not hungry. I just don't feel hungry. GLP-1s act on the appetite center of the brain, the hypothalamus. This results in fewer cravings, quieting of the food noise, and better portion control. It doesn't just reduce hunger, it often reduces the mental drive to eat. GLP-1s do the following: increase insulin when blood sugar rises, decreases glucagon, which raises blood sugar, stabilizes blood sugar to reduce spikes and crashes. Stable blood sugar equals fewer cravings. So here's the beauty of it. Most people naturally eat less without the feeling of restriction. This is how weight loss occurs. So this is the important part that a lot of people don't explain and a lot of people don't know about GLP-1. The medication doesn't automatically protect your muscle. If someone is under eating protein, doesn't stimulate the muscle through workouts, training, or eats too little overall, the following can happen. You can lose fat, you can lose muscle, and you can lose water, same as a regular diet plan. Again, when you're on a weight loss journey, you're trying to just lose the fat. You want the muscle. Our body needs water. You're going to lose water anyway, it just happens. But the muscle, we can help that. And this is why a companion nutrition plan matters. This is the most important part. And we will talk about that in the next episode. But hold on, there's more. This is why I'm so excited about this series, because if I would have had these answers a year ago, I would have done it a year ago. So I hope this is helpful. I'm trying to answer as many questions as you may have about GLP-1s. So the simple summary of GLP-1s is this: feel full sooner, you eat less, and it stabilizes your blood sugar. Again, GLP-1s do not do the following. They do not automatically improve your nutrition. They do not automatically protect your muscle. And obviously, they do not replace healthy habits. But that's all something in your hands, and that's the beauty of this. GLP-1s reduce appetite by mimicking the fullness hormone, which helps lower calorie intake, improves blood sugar control, which aids in losing weight. So to end this video, I just want to give you some highlights or some glimpses into my experience with GLP-1s, just in case you had the experience I did, where it was a lot of people who weren't being clear, and the information always isn't very clear. So again, this is just my experience. Other people may experience different things, but I'm just going to run down a few things that I have found to be true in the 3 months I've been using it. Also, I'm going to do a video on natural ways to enhance this hormone, the fullness hormone, because it is a naturally occurring thing in the body. You can mimic it by different foods and whatnot, and that's going to be a video coming up later as well. I understand that this can be an expensive product and it may hinder someone from getting it, but there are natural ways to improve the fullness hormone. So my closing remarks and my experience on Manjaro, which is the one I'm on. Like I said earlier, when I was first hearing about it, and still, you hear a lot of grandiose weight loss, and it could be true for them, I'll say. So I'm not making, light of it or fun of it, or I'm just saying it's not true for me. I've been consistently, I think, when I first started, maybe the first week, I might have lost 4 or 5, maybe. I'd have to look at I keep notes and sheets and records on everything, but I'd have to look at it. But I do not recall having like a 15-pound week, a 10-pound week. I think the most I lost in a week was maybe 6 pounds, 6 or 7. But after that, it's been very regular 2 pounds, 1 pound and 9 ounce type of things. So, but it's been very consistent. And there was 1 week, and I only weigh once a week. And so 1 week where I kind of ate more than I was normally eating. I think I just wanted to test it and see. And I gained weight. So I gained 2 pounds that week. So you're still, what I think I love about it most is that the control is still on you. It's still on you to do it. Because my thought before was I want to do it naturally. Like if I took the GLP-1, it would be doing it for me, but absolutely not. Like you have control over this. You still have to eat right. You still have to eat whole foods, on and on, which we'll talk about in next week's episode. Some diet ideas. Not diet, some nutrition ideas. But what I love about it is the difference is you don't think about it. At this point, my body doesn't crave anything that it only wants like whole foods. If that makes if you know type of thing. But I don't even crave like burgers and fries and chips and drinks. When I get hungry, it's like, ooh, some vegetables and some protein and those are the thoughts that go through my mind. It's not, and it takes time because you've got to, it's kind of up to you how you do it. I chose to completely delete those kinds of ultra processed foods from my diet. And so because I want this to be long term, I want this to be it. I don't want to go through weight loss again. I want to get it off and move on. Like this has been such a thing in my life that I'm over it. It's like a relationship that you just finally you're done. So that's how I feel about being overweight. Like I'm over it. So I chose to sayonara a lot of poor choices in eating. And so now my choices are clean. And so when I crave, and it didn't take long, it may have took a month to finally stop craving those things. And now I don't desire to have stuff like that. If I want something sweet, I'll make like banana ice cream or something. Like it's not, the desire is not like Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's anymore. My relationship with food has gone back to childhood when, again, I desired, a piece of fruit was perfect. If I wanted a sweet thing, it was typically fruit that I ate. And I love that.
I don't know, it's nostalgic, I guess. For me, I feel like it's easy. I think the thing no one ever said to me, they said a lot of things, but no one ever said it's easy. Being on a GLP-1 makes weight loss easy. You're just living life while you're losing weight. And so I track and I weigh uh, carbs more than anything, even the protein, just so I know how much. I weigh my proteins for different reasons, and I weigh carbs because I want to know I'm hitting my protein goals, which is something else we'll talk about next week. And I would suggest really researching. Ask your doctor if you can, get a dietitian, and nail down what your particular protein needs will be. You can't go off of mine. I can't go off of yours. Everybody has a different need, and it's super important on a GLP-1 that you understand where your protein grams should be. And then you set your diet around these things: whole foods, clean proteins, but there's a certain number of proteins a day you should be eating. You should consume a day. Mine, based off of my needs, is 120 grams. That's not always easy. So you can supplement with like protein shakes or protein powder shake, however you want to do it. That's up to you. Just be sure you're not taking in a whole lot of sugar and whatnot, because you don't need to. There's sugar-free ones. And I do supplement with a shake every blue moon, like probably 4 times a week. I'll have a protein shake. That's also in next week's episode. I just wanted to give you the real deal. It's not a miracle thing. You can still gain weight on it. You have to eat right, but it's easy, and you'll see what I mean. If you're on it, you should know what I mean. If you get on them, you will know. And if you go the natural route, which will be in a later episode, you will also know. So there's so many ways to go about it without you having to struggle and feel like you're not doing it right when it's not your fault in the first place. It's not going right. So that's all for now. Join me in the next episode, Road to 100, where we'll be discussing the mistakes almost everyone makes on GLP-1s, and we'll discuss nutrition plans, and how not to lose muscle. You guys have a great one. Love y'all. Like, subscribe, share. Have a beautiful day. Peace.